Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedyanam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Priya, can you read the Sanskrit from a transliteration?
I can try. Oh, over here?
Yeah,
okay.
So we can hear you're on the thing. Do you have a copy of the text?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Mark, you're off the hook.
Oh, cool. I got away.
Yeah. Priya has excellent pronunciation when she chants.
Oh, that's better. So we're on verse 75.
75. What page is it?
Do you have a page number?
Well, I have a page in the Kindle, which is 157. I don't know if that corresponds.
Okay, I found it. Is it those thoughtless ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so where are we in our text? We're in the study of the Stula Sharira, the gross body. And just a reminder, these words gross and subtle are vibrational distinctions. So we went through that it's skin, dermis, epidermis, bone, blood, marrow, fat, muscle, filled with feces and urine, and comprised of the tanmatras, the gross element, the subtle elements, which combine to form the gross elements. And we went through the whole yogic notion of perception last week. So let's start with it. 77 is where we are now. Do you have enough light?
75.
Yeah. 75.
75. Okie dokie.
I think it's the last verse in the gross body.
Okay.
I'll chant without the meter because.
Yeah, you don't need to sing it. Just read it.
Yaeshu mudha vishayeshu badaha ragarupeshana sudurdamena ayanti nirantayata urdhva muchayehi swakarma dudhena javena nitaha.
And the English?
Those thoughtless ones who are bound to these sense objects by the stout ropes of attachment, so very difficult to cut asunder, come and go, carried up and down by the compelling force of the convoy of the reactions of their own past actions.
So, the body is the seat of our identification in the state of ignorance. It's the bija vasana, the seed attachment. From the body, the mind and intellect look out upon a world of name and form. and develop attachment, aversion, habits, stories, reactions, triggers is what we call it nowadays, all these sorts of things. And this continues to solidify the sense that I'm a person, I'm the body. Now, one of the words we have in Sanskrit that is just rich with meaning is the word dharma. It can mean the path, it can mean law, it can mean the teaching. But the number one meaning in a dictionary, it's the nature of a thing, the essence of a thing, without which it would not be the thing that it is. So they always talk about it's the dharma of fire to burn. It's the dharma of water to be wet. It's the dharma of sugar to be sweet. The dharma of the body is karma. Let's repeat that. The dharma of the body is karma. What does karma mean? Karma simply means work, action. It is a neutral word. You and I go, oh, bad karma, oh, my good karma, that sort of stuff. That's all just ideas. It's a mechanical force. The image I like to use, if you have a tub of water and you drop a pebble into it, the ripples go out to the rim of the tub and then they come back. That's just what they do. So every action that we do, a karma, produces reaction. Why do I do what I do? Why do I like what I like? Why am I in the circumstances I'm in? It is the force of the past fructifying. That's all it is. There's no God out there, a sky daddy who rewards us or punishes us. In some spiritual traditions, you'll get people saying things like, oh, I'm feeling such a connection to God or my higher power. I hit all the green lights on the way to class tonight. Nonsense. Why did you hit all the green lights? The force of the past maturing. It's all it is. All it ever is. We do not get what we want in life. We don't even get what we need in life. We get the inevitable results of the force of our past actions. My karma, as it interacts and interfaces with the larger society and its karma. Now, yoga does not say we're going to give you all goody-goody karma and it's all going to be sweetness and light. Bad things happen to good people. And Socrates, when he was asked what vexed him the most, he said the prosperity of the wicked. Because you can run, but you can never hide. But this is a big one. The force of karma can be blunted through prayer, blunted through devotion. And yoga allows us to match calamity with serenity. Let me see if I can give you a real live example. Many of you know I just love the movie Gandhi. And there's one scene where Gandhi is doing, I think they're making salt or something like that. And the British in charge say, arrest Mr. Gandhi. And they arrest him and they lock him up. But they could not imprison Gandhiji because he was a sannyasi at heart. So he's there in his cell with his books and is making his homespun cloth, writing letters, and people come to visit him, and he's happy and cheerful. It infuriated the British because they could not make him suffer. Now, when we were talking about the qualifications of a fit student, and we looked at titiksha, forbearance, the capacity to endure the vicissitudes of life without the need for redress or revenge. This gives us a great key in life. The dharma of the body is karma. You can at least start to make your life a little bit easier if you just don't be a jerk. I was going through the yamas and niyamas with a student this week, and we came upon one of them, satyam. Satyam means truthfulness, but it also means integrity, straightforwardness. Why does a yogi want to practice honesty? Truthfulness, straightforwardness. If you understand karma, things that steal get stolen from. If you rip off Amazon, don't complain when your car window gets broken. See what I mean? If you lie to someone, you're supposed to get together at 4 o'clock for coffee, and you have something else you'd rather do, tender or grinder, and you lie. Oh, I'm not feeling well. Don't be surprised when a friend flakes on an appointment. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Any thoughts on this? Now, we don't need to go. Was there a thought out there in Zoom land?
Yeah, Jim, this is Atik. The question I have is, so you're saying all the collective actions are gonna come and manifest as in my life today. So
maybe not today, maybe in the future.
Maybe today and in the future. So my job or my role as a yogi is to just observe and endure them. And then when all those are say I stop creating anything negative action today, when all those actions run out, that's the end?
Not necessarily, because the body is never free from action. And many times we have actions with unintended consequences. Let me see if I can give you a very clear example. How many of you, for your own health, drink lots of good purified water out of plastic bottles? You are contributing to the plastification of the earth. You can see from space those mounds of garbage, these big gyres of plastic in the ocean. It takes thousands of years for these particles to decompose. They get in the food chain. But did we know this 20 years ago? No. Wendy may be old enough to remember leaded gasoline.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't do that anymore. Yeah. It's destructive. Or the old timey days when we would have spray things. Aerosols. You know, we didn't know that they were destroying the ozone layer. It's fixed. So my point is, we go through many, many actions, and we have no idea unintended consequences. So yoga doesn't ask us to be frightened of our actions. You know, live your life. Do your best not to be a jerk. One particular commentary on the Yoga Sutra I was reading said that the yamas and the niyamas, the moral principles, all reduce themselves to ahimsa, nonviolence. But the body will always have karma. It's unavoidable. That's what a body is. But you will get there. The self has no karma.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Only the body has karma. All right. Very good question, Atik.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
All right. Anybody else on how the body is impelled into activity by the force of its past? That's why we like what we like, why we do what we do. Priya's here and she's been a digital nomad. How long now? How many years? Couple years now?
Almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years. You know, I haven't moved in 28 years. Why? Karma. I have a friend, a sometime student, Michael Schramm. You know Michael.
Mhm.
So Australian fellow, he's absolutely committed, goes off to take a brahmachari training course in India, and then there's a screw up with his visa, so he has to leave. So he's doing it online from Australia. Karma. In 1993, in July, I go up to Krishnalaya. Swamiji says, Jim, I think it's time for you to take sannyas, to become a monk. I go, okay. I come back to San Francisco, get rid of all my stuff. 3 weeks later, he dies. Karma. So you never know. But the point I'm getting at, do not think that we get away with any lapses in our personal integrity. In time, it will all come home to roost.
Oh, one more question, Jim.
Sure.
Does it work the other way around too? If I've done good, like my integrity has not lapsed, does that come around as good back to me as well?
What it does, first of all, it makes your life a lot smoother. The reason we have Satyam as one of the yamas is because it makes life a lot easier. You're not dealing with stress and crisis and upsets all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But good karma is not the answer to all the problems of existence. It just lets us see what's going on at the level of the body. We're talking about the body.
Mm. Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Next verse.
This is chapter 18. Shabdadibihi panchabhireva panchatbamapuhu swagunena vadaha kuranga matanga patanga mina bringa naraha panchabhiranchitaha kim. The deer, the elephant, the moth, the fish, and the honeybee, these five are annihilated because of their slavery to one or the other of the senses, such as sound and so on, through their own attachment. What then is the condition of a man who is attached to all these five?
Oh, and so this is a humorous reference to these various animals. So let's go through them one by one. The first is the deer, is it not?
Yeah.
So what the deer is attached to is sound. So the hunter in the forest can have a flute and go, and the deer stops and he looks with the arrow, able to shoot the deer. The next one is
The elephant.
the elephant. Elephants love the sense of touch. If you want to just see some of the cutest things in the world, go onto YouTube and search for baby elephants at play. They love to cuddle and to touch and to be sensuous and play in the mud and the water and rub all over. Even humans, they do. They just love it. So what they would do to be able to capture elephants, because also one of the ways they like to touch is doing the mufti poofti. So they'd dig a pit and then they'd cover it over with straw. And then they would have a she elephant on one side. And then when the bull elephant would come that they wanted to capture, he'd see the lady elephant and he'd go, and come running and then they could capture the elephant. So he was destroyed by his attachment to the sense of touch. Next one.
The moth.
The moth to the flame. Sight. So imagine again a bonfire in the middle of a village. The flames are going and all the moths emulate themselves by their attachment to the sense of sight. Next one.
The fish.
Oh, the fish is hungry. You put the worm on the hook, you put it in the water, and the fish doesn't pay attention to the hook or the line. Worm, chunk, and it's destroyed. Is there one more?
The honeybee.
The honeybee. Smell. The honeybee is attracted to the sense of the fragrance of the flowers. And then they're able to be captured and then taken off, and we can cultivate them for honey. So the idea is each of these various animals has an attachment to just one sense, but they get destroyed. But you and I, all five. So if we have an addictive relationship with the sense objects, which we contact through the gross body, the physical body. Now, I want to talk a little bit. We will go into this a little bit more in later verses. I want to talk about what a vasana is. Vasana comes from the root vas, vasati, which means to like linger or dwell overnight. Soundarya is not here tonight. Frequently, she and Puni go work out and then go home and shower. And then she has this lovely scented oil that she wears after she bathes. And she comes and they go, ooh, Soundarya. And then if she leaves the room, the fragrance is left behind. That's a vasana. So what does it mean spiritually? It is a subset of sanskara. Sanskara is an impression. They are not in and of themselves bad. So for example, you guys can see this is a table. How do you know it's a table? You've been taught it. This is a chair. How do you know it's not a lamppost? You've been taught that it's a chair. But knowing that's a table, knowing this is a chair, doesn't cause you to suffer. So impressions in and of themselves are not necessarily bad. Newborn infants have no sanskaras. Their eyes don't even focus. Who said you're supposed to focus your eyes? So you, in the crib, you have the mobile, is that what they call them? The things that go round and round?
Yeah.
And what's that for? It's to teach the baby to start focusing their eyes. Major sense organ for a child, mouth. Everything goes into the mouth. But then the other senses develop. This is not necessarily a negative thing. But a subset of sanskara is a vasana, which is an egoistic impression left in the unconscious as the result of previously performed egoistic actions, meaning it involves I-ness and minus, and I associate pleasure or suffering with the experience. What happens? If it's a pleasurable experience, after I've had the experience, I engage in after the fact thinking about it. It's called chintya. Oh, that was such great cake. Oh man, that was really good stuff. Where'd you get it, Jim? Oh, I got it at Whole Foods. Oh, well, maybe I'll go get one of those chocolate. It had mousse filling, you know. It leaves an impression, which then makes me want to repeat the action. The version is the same. Well, that was hideous. I'm never going to do that again. I went to Burning Man this year and it was mud everywhere. It was filthy and people were screaming and yelling. It was terrible. I'm never going back there again. So we get both positive and negative impressions. These vasanas are what bind us to the world. That's what draws us into the cycle of births and deaths. Now, you don't need to believe in reincarnation. It just draws us into the cycle of, well, this isn't working out. I'll be happy when, it'll be better if. I want to live in a different city. I want to get a different partner. I want to get a different job. I don't like my clothes. I don't like my apartment or my house. It'll be so much better when I get a partner. It'll be so much better when I get rid of the partner. We think it's all out there. All that is the fruit of vasana. All that is the fruit of our attachment to the sensory experiences that we have. Now, there are other ways to live. If you've ever been around toddlers, something really, frustrating will happen, and then mommy brings out her car keys and goes jingle, 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 jingle. Whatever it was that was upsetting the baby is gone. Well, that's fascinating. Very few impressions. This is why so many of us have few memories before the age of maybe 4, sometimes maybe 3. Because by then, we start to develop chintya, after the fact memory, and coming to conclusions about experiences. Now, this is not bad or wrong. It just creates our bondage. Now, Shankara is not yet telling us how to get out of it, but he will. Any thoughts about this process? There's a saying we have in Alcoholics Anonymous. At first, the man takes the drink, then the drink takes the drink, and then the drink takes the man. Nobody starts out heading to the local club thinking, gee, I think I'm going to be an alcoholic in life. Nobody does that. No young person goes to a dance party, does a little blow in the bathroom, thinking, oh, I think I'm going to be a drug addict. Nobody thinks that. But we set in mind addictive tendencies in the mind. And it can be all sorts of things. Alcohol and drugs are simply extreme forms that aren't socially acceptable. There are all sorts of attachments that we have, which in the end cause us to suffer. All right, next verse.
Doshena tivravesaya Krishna sarpa vishadapi visham nihanti bhoktaram drishtaram chakshushavyayam.
Wow, good for you.
Thanks. Sense objects are even more venomous in their tragic effects than cobra poison. Poison is fatal to one who swallows it, but the sense objects kill him who even looks at them with his eyes.
Yeah. The Master Jesus, when talking about our sinfulness, said, oh, a man is committed adultery if he just looks at a woman with lust in his heart. We're all doomed. This is how the mind, in its ignorance, natural state, functions. The Upanishad says the Lord created the senses with outgoing tendencies. It's what they naturally do. It's not evil or bad, it's what they do. The mind wants to attach to things. Problem is, we attach it to the wrong thing. We're going to learn how to attach it to our own essential nature. All right, next verse.
Vishaya samaha pashatyo vibhukta sudushyaya jat sayeva kalpate muktye nanya sastra vedyapi. He who has liberated himself from the terrible bonds of desires for sense objects, indeed very difficult to renounce, is alone fit for liberation.
Yes. So this is mature vairagya. When we have freed ourselves from the tyranny of the indulgent part of our mind. I must have that. I'll never do that. When the sense objects no longer have their siren call, to dash us on the rocks of stupid living. So for the person who's attained to yoga rudha, as Krishna says in Gita, arudha is a riding term. Ashwarudha means you've gotten on the horse and it's under control. You watch YouTubes of the dressage people and the horses doing all these fancy steps. What Krishna wants us to do in Gita is mount the steed of the mind. Get it under control. And notice he says, difficult to cut asunder our addictive relationship with the things of this world. The problem is not the world. In the end, the problem is not even our enjoyment of it. The problem is my attachment to it. What do I mean by attachment? I think I need that in order to be happy. Example I like to say is you can go out to Ocean Beach or go up to Twin Peaks and watch the sunset. This time of the year, it's very beautiful. I guess you can do it from the Oakland Hills, Berkeley Hills too, can't you? Mm-hmm. Can you see sunsets from your place?
Yeah.
Yeah. You like them?
Beautiful. Yeah.
Can you possess them?
No.
No one can possess a sunset. No, sun, don't go down. Please, please don't go into the water. No, no one has any idea like that. I can walk by the lake at dusk and I get to hear my choir which is the seabirds. In the evening, right in the evening, I'm not quite sure why, but all the birds come and they feed and they squawk and squawk and squawk and squawk. I call it my choir. Just love to listen to them. But as soon as the sun goes down, they're quiet. Can't be attached. Can't be attached. When Swamiji had this doubt, his guru, Somitapuvan, said, "You see the mountain?" They were up in the Himalayas. Said, "Isn't it beautiful?" No one can possess a mountain. So again, it doesn't mean we don't appreciate or even enjoy. The problem is attachment, wanting to hang on, to repeat it, to possess it. All right, next verse.
Apatha vairagya vato mumukshun bhavat param prati yatu mudyatan asagraho majayate tarale nigriyaha kante vini vartya degat. Those who have only an apparent dispassion and are trying to cross the ocean of change are caught by their throats by the shark of desire, which, violently dragging them along, drowns them in the middle of the ocean.
Yes. So the word here is agraha, which Swamiji translates as shark. I suspect Shankara meant a crocodile. You know, they're stinky. You're trying to cross the river, or a salty, you're there at the ocean. And grab you. So if we have phony renunciation, which we might be able to accomplish if we go on a retreat. Easy to be a renunciate then because none of the objects of desire are present. But at some point, the dharma of the body is karma. Your body will be back into the world where the objects of desire are. Our job is to work on lowering the volume, turn it down, let it go, turn it over, surrender, acceptance. There's so many words that we have. Let it be. Not get attached. Next verse.
Vishayakyagraho yena suviraktyasina hatha sa gachati bhavam podehe param pratyuhavarjitaha. He who has destroyed the shark called sense objects with the sword of mature dispassion crosses the ocean of samsara unobstructed.
So, mature dispassion, that desire to give up attachment to all experiences gained through sense objects, and that desire to give up identification with any form of self, body up to the form of Brahma. This is mature dispassion. So that's where most of us fall short. We can read lots and lots and lots and lots of scripture. We can do, long meditation. But then we find, why am I still not happy? Why am I still triggered? The problem is we've left out the Vairagya. And this is a practice you don't do in your meditation seat. This is a practice you do in the world. Because that's where the sense objects are. The people, places, things, conditions that correspond to our vasanas. Now, once you've started on this path, understand Guru as a principle will show up temporarily as the teacher. But the real Guru is in your heart, it's your own self-nature. But it's also the circumstances of your life. Some of you have heard me share this story. A Western disciple, it was a news person, once asked the Dalai Lama who his most important guru was. And he thought for a moment, and he said, Mao Zedong. Young people don't know who Chairman Mao was. He was the one who was head of the Chinese Communist Party and army, the one who sent the troops into Tibet to commit genocide, slaughter people, close the Buddhist monasteries, force the Dalai Lama and many of the senior lamas into exile. So this was the Dalai Lama's most important guru, because this is the one that upset him the most. So the yogi starts to see all the circumstances of life as opportunity for Vairagya. Now, the guru in the form of the world is incredibly patient. So, if a circumstance comes along and you and I get triggered by it and we deal with it by fight and flight, rationalization, protecting ego, Mahaguru, the infinite Lord, goes, okay, Jim, well, you missed it this time. I'll bring it around again until you learn. And I can prove it to you. Who got upset this week? Tell me this is the first time this has upset you. I used to laugh. Same damn condition, only the names and faces change. Jim, have you ever been married? Well, 10 years. Same relationship, just the names and faces change. But it kept recreating it. My own karma brought it to me. That was Guru. And it can be in all sorts of things. Another big one so many of us have is fear of financial insecurity. Boy, can that rattle us. And we think zeros after the paycheck are going to solve the problem. They never do. Why? The problem isn't lack of money. The problem is fear. And circumstances will continue. I will tell you how to be free from the fear of financial insecurity. Want to know the secret? Inside, be a sannyasi. Inside, own nothing. And know you will always be taken care of. It's all safe. Sannyasi has just their simple robes, maybe a staff, and a begging bowl. So if you live like a sannyasi on the inside, then whether you have stuff on the outside or not, it won't make a whole lot of difference. But if we're in fear, no matter how much stuff is on the outside, fear won't go away. Who's had that experience, learned that through a lot of suffering? I certainly did. I can go through all sorts of these things, but these external circumstances are guru. Next verse.
Vishama Vishaya Marga Gachatho Nacha Buddhehe Pratipada Mabiyatho Mrityurupesha Vidi Kita Sujana Gurutya Gachatha Swasya Yuktya Prabhavati Phala Siddhihi Satya Mityeva Vidi. Know that mortality soon overtakes a foolish man who walks the dangerous path of sense pleasures, whereas one who sticks to the path of divinity, according to the instructions of well-meaning and noble Guru, constantly walks the path divine, helped by one's own reasoning faculty. One achieves the end. Know for certain this is true.
So in Kathopanishad, after Lord Death finishes his test of Nachiketas and decides, okay, he's now fit. And the question Nachiketas asks, when a person dies, are they or are they not? The first thing Lord Death teaches him is two paths approach a person: Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas means the good. Preyas means the dear. Swamiji, with his heart of a poet, used to call it the electable and the delectable. Wise is the person who chooses the good. We have two words in Sanskrit. There's bhoga and yoga. Bhoga means enjoyment. Both a bhogi and a yogi want happiness. A bhogi views life from this viewpoint. Happiness comes from satisfying as many desires as possible. The end result of that is more desire. It's like you've got a fire. Oh dear, I need to put the fire out by pouring gasoline on it. What happens? Fire just gets bigger. A yogi practices yoga. A yogi also aspires to happiness. but they live a life endeavoring to reduce the number of desires entertained. And what's left is the space of peace, of contentment. You choose. Next verse.
Mokshasya kasha yadi vai tabasti tyajati durat vishayan visham yatha piyusavatho sada yaksha marja vaprashanti dantir paja nitya madarat. If you have indeed a craving for liberation, avoid sense objects from a distance, just as you avoid things known to be poisonous, and with respectful reverence, daily cultivate the nectarine virtues: contentment, forgiveness, straightforwardness, calmness, and self-control.
Yes. So, again, if you have the karma to go live in an ashram, this is a lot easier. But most of us, that's not the way we live. We have to do our yoga while being householders, living in the world. So when he says avoid sense objects from a distance, we need to look at this subtly. You know the things that get you into trouble. You know, why tempt fate? If you're a young person and you know getting on the phone, looking at Grinder or Tender only makes you start longing, why do it then? Avoid it from a distance. If you know you get caught up in being a shopaholic, if you go on any of these, stations on the TV or places online where you can buy all this stuff, are you a kind of person that has a whole bunch of clothes in the closet with tags on it that you've never worn? Or shoes at the bottom of the closet that have never come out of the boxes? If you know, and this is a problem, why tempt yourself? You know you have an issue with gambling. Oh, we're all going to the casino this weekend. You want to come? No, not for me. No. Sometimes there are things we can't avoid from a distance. Everybody has to eat. If you've got food issues, you have to find a way to eat intelligently so that you don't damage your health. And keep turning your mind toward an intelligent way to live. What does that mean? I like what Buddha said: middle path. Don't eat too much, don't eat too little. Don't sleep too much, don't sleep too little. Don't play too much, don't play too little. Take the middle path. But endeavor to live a life where you cultivate what we call sattvic influences that work towards clarity, simplicity. We have space and time for meditation and study. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Okay, yeah, that was the end of the chapter.
Those chapter headings, by the way, are not Shankara's. Those, the editor, well, aren't even Swamiji's. An editor has put those in there.
Got it. Anukshanam yat pari krityam anadya vidya krita bandha mokshanam deha parartho yamamushya posane ya sajate sa swamanena hanti. This body is essentially an instrument for realizing the Paramatman. He who does not constantly use it for liberating himself from the bondage born of beginningless ignorance, but struggles to nourish it, is destroying himself.
So that's what the body is for a yogi. It's an instrument for the realization of the self. Some people think that freedom will come through pampering the body. I call this Marin County yoga. I'm getting a massage, and then I'm going to soak in the mud baths, and then I go get my sound therapy, and then I'm taking a pink tantra workshop this weekend to learn how to have spiritual sex. Welcome to California, The people who do that, they think this is spirituality. I'm into self-care. I take bubble baths every night. That's my yoga. There's nothing wrong with these things. But you do not find freedom through pampering the body. Now listen carefully. You don't find freedom through torturing the body either. You want to see your body like a car. Some of us have a Toyota. Some of us have a BMW. But what do? Whatever kind of car you've come in with. Well, wash it, change the oil, get a tune-up regularly, rotate the tires, put fuel in it. If you do those things, then the car will serve you. I had a friend who had this little Morris Mini Cooper, and he wasn't very good with cars. He didn't know you were supposed to change the oil. It totally wrecked the engine. It's an expensive engine to wreck. So this is how you want to deal with the body. You want to have the body in a condition where you don't have to think about it. If you're a beginning yogi and you've got a lot of physical pain, or you have chronic disease, the body's constantly drawing your attention. Now, you can work through that as a yogi, but boy, it makes it harder. But if you treat it like a car, it's a vehicle. It's an instrument for realizing the self. And you can sit in meditation and forget the body. And you see what is driving. Flesh hating, mortification of the flesh never works. Any thoughts on this? You may find, for example, as you continue to meditate, that very naturally you will lighten your diet. You just won't want to eat really heavy stuff all the time. Who's had that experience? Just as you've been doing practice, your diet's just lightened. Those of us who may be meat eaters, you go out and have a steak and you go, oh God, it just makes me feel gross. Nice salad, it feels really, I feel good. Any other thoughts on this? Next verse.
Sarira poshanana Sarira posanati san Yatmanam didrikshate Graham darutiya dritva Nadim tartum sagachati. Whoever seeks to rediscover the self by devoting himself to the care of the body is like one who proceeds to cross a river, holding on to a shark which one has mistaken for a log of wood.
Yes. So again, the graha. I don't think you ever mistake a shark for a log of wood, but you sure can mistake a crocodile. So those people who think freedom will come through the body. Now let me push back a little bit on Shankara. So if you're in the Raja Yoga tradition, the first two limbs of it are yamas and niyamas, are moral behavior. The next one is asana, physical postures. So is Shankara saying don't bother with doing yoga asanas? No. The reason we do asana is, again, to keep the body healthy and strong so we can forget it. If you haven't been exercising and you're putting on a few years, you know what it's like to be 75 as opposed to 25? There's no difference at all, except something hurts all the time. But you can minimize that by taking care of the body. But you will not attain freedom by doing yoga postures, Pilates, going to the gym, Reiki, any of those sorts of body or energy kinds of things. They can be helpful. They can be good for healing. But they're not an end in themselves. Okay, one more, then we'll quit. Is that the end of that section?
No. It's the third in the editor chapter.
Okay. It's almost 9. We'll stop here. All right. What verse are we on for next week?
85.
85. Thank you, Priya. Great job.
Thank you.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.